Welcome again. I picked this evening's reading to be something that might correspond to the new year or to the old year passing out. And it may seem a little bit strange at first, the reading, but it's from that part of the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is speaking about those last thoughts that a person retains at the time of death impel one in the next lifetime, carry on into the next lifetime. And I thought of that reading because it said that, long time. It's said that when a person passes from one, we carry our thoughts and it propels us into the next lifetime. Well, in the same way, every day is like a death. The Master said that we die at night in the sense that we go to sleep and we wake up again and it's a new day. And the thoughts of the previous day often as we go to sleep that we carry with us impel us into the next day. So he made the comparison that when you go to sleep, positively, be positive as you go to sleep, and you'll carry that into the next day. And so you could take that same thought for 1 year to the next as we learn the lessons from one and go leave the past behind and go off into the future. And yogis even say that every breath is like a death. And when we inhale, it's like a new life. And even think of it in that way. Leave the past behind because it's gone. And then we face positively into the future. So with that thought, I picked this reading. But I also picked it because I wanted to read some of Swamiji's commentary because it applied to something I'd like to share. So this is from the 7th chapter. Those who perceive my presence within their physical, astral, and spiritual bodies, their hearts united to me, retain their perception even at the time of death. Now, here, the part I wanted to share says about death here, he's speaking, but it really applies in a larger context. He says, the thoughts with which one leaves his body have a great influence on his future state. Exaggerated remorse for one's mistakes is a negative affirmation that may attract to oneself unnecessary suffering. Far better than useless regret is an affirmation of positive intent to correct one's errors. Sin itself is only and quite simply error. As people lie dying, they should resolve to do better in the future. And this is basically the point that I would like to make at this time of year when we leave 1 year behind and we go into the next one. There was a story from Paramahansa Yogananda's life recounted by Swami Kriyananda. Swamiji had gone to a hospital where one of the devotees there was a family man, was in the hospital on his deathbed. He had very short time to live, and so Swamiji went to comfort him and to be with him as he began to pass in those last moments of his life. And when he went there, he was by the bedside, and the man said to Swamiji, he says, "Oh, I've done so many things wrong in this lifetime." And he was expressing the great regrets about all the things that he had done wrong in that lifetime and that he wished he could have done better, but he was regretful. And so when then a little bit time had passed, then he passed on. And Swami Kriyananda went back to the ashram and reported to Master that he had went to see this gentleman and so forth. And recounted to him those last moments of that person's death, what he had said at that time. And Master said very sadly, says, "Oh, he shouldn't have said that. He shouldn't have said that." In other words, he was leaving with this sense of remorse, a sense of regret. And Master said, when the time comes for us to exit this body, we should instead be going out positive, affirmative, looking forward to the future and not looking regretfully to the past. And so you see here in this reading and commentary that Swami makes, he says, exaggerated regret only leads to greater suffering. It's or unnecessary suffering, as he says. And this is something we can apply also. Yes, the time will come for all of us to make that transition. But in a sense, if we think of every day as a new birth, every year, at the time of the end of the year, we look back on the year. And at the same time, also, we look forward. And so we should look back on the year. Last year, we had a nice retreat at the ashram where we looked back on the year, and for each month we tried to remember, what was the lesson I learned in that month? What was the highlight of that month? And it was actually quite hard to remember what I did 10 months ago. But then, and you might say as a chapter in a book. And then by the time you look through all 12 months, the assignment that we were giving was to, what would you title this book of 12 chapters, looking at the headings of the 12 chapters? And so we looked back, and we were asked also, what do you learn from that? And this is the way to look back on the past year. Look back on the past. What did we learn? What did we gain from it? But don't look back with exaggerated remorse, whether it's this year or anything in life, because I think all of us, if we look back, we'll find things that we regret and we hold on to. If you're like me, I still look back. Things that I did as a child, well, maybe not as a child so much, that's more forgivable, but as a young adult maybe, I thought, oh, gosh, I did that. And it flashes across my mind every once in a while, but oh, no, I really did do that. Yes, I did. And I have to, and I feel it still a little bit in the heart. I wish I hadn't have done that. But the more important question isn't that, I hope, is, did I learn anything? And you come to the realization, all of us do, that I learned my lesson. I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to do it again. But that remorse or regret is something that Master said, don't do that. Now, there's a fine line between having regret and wishing you didn't do it, and this exaggerated remorse is what Swamiji is talking about here, because naturally you mourn the fact that you made those mistakes, especially if you hurt other people or you did something wrong for other people. But justice is in God's hands. You have to pay the price. And I think one of the things when you look back at your mistakes in life is to have that continual mourning for the past or regret for the past. Let that aside and realize, but face the fact that if you did something wrong, accept the fact that you will get what's coming to you. This world is just, and you don't need to regret that even. It's just going to come. It's just going to come. But did you learn your lesson and resolve, in the future I'm going to do better? So Swami Sri Yukteswar said, the past lives of all men are dark with many shames. Whatever you do, the future is being laid right now. All things in the future will improve if you make the right spiritual effort now. So at the end, we come to the end of 2015, and let's look back in our lives. What did we learn? Is there something we learned? What was the highlights of that year for you? And what lesson did you learn that you can take forward to improve upon that year, and then let it go. Let it go. That's what Master was. Master would say. He was very adamant about not identifying ourselves as, and he was in America at that time, and there is in the Christian tradition the idea of being a sinner. And he says, don't ever call yourself that. Don't call yourself a sinner. You made a mistake. Learn from it, go forward, but don't identify. Now, you could take that further. Probably we shouldn't identify with anything. I mean, in the sense that we shouldn't call ourselves anything, call ourselves bad. We're a soul. We're a child of God if we wish to identify ourselves. That's who we are. And in that relationship, let's go forward, and let's go forward into the next year. And the counterpart to that part of looking backward, of course, is when you have New Year's, is the other side, which is looking forward to the future, looking to what's coming, and making that affirmation of what I learned last year, how am I going to apply that, and how am I going to move forward into the coming year? And there's the tradition, whenever a new year starts, is to make some sort of an affirmation for I'm going to reform, perhaps, or I'm going to go to the gym and really get rid of that, that extra 5 pounds or whatever, or a kilo there or two. There's always this tradition, and what, of course, happens? Well, of course, they say that these gymnasium clubs that you can join, they say they do their best business in the month of January. They like to sell these packages where you sign up for 6 months, pay in advance. Why? Because they know after 1 month or 6 weeks, they're not going to have very many of those people continue coming. And it's true that this is what happens. We make these resolutions every year. This year, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get up early, and I'm going to meditate every morning. I'm going to lose that extra weight. I'm going to go walking. And, I see people walking in the morning. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to take my walk in the morning, the nice path up here on the walkway up above us up here. And I bet if we took a census, we'll see next week we're going to see more walkers up there on the path. But as time goes by, and why is that? Why is it we somehow, that enthusiasm we bring to it, it's an affirmation. And of course, this is good. We should affirm. We have to have, this is the positive side. Going back to that reading, Yogananda did say, he says, when the time comes for us to totally exit this body, not just at night, he says, but yet even day by day, we should do it this way too, is go to sleep with a positive affirmation of the future the next day. I'm awake and ready. Tomorrow is going to be the best day of my life. A good friend of mine told me to practice that. He said he was having good results with it. And so, okay, I'll try that. And I actually found it worked. I would go to sleep and I'd say, tomorrow is going to be the best day of my life. And I'd try to drift off to sleep with that affirmation. And it did. It actually had a positive change for me. But in the same way, at the end of the year, why not next year is going to be also, it's going to be the best year of my life. That every year is going to be the best year of my life. But especially said, when that time comes to make that final exit, we want to live and exit in that attitude, looking forward to, in a positive way, not necessarily with desires of one thing or another, but just positively moving toward the divine, moving toward that divine light. But we do this every January. We come and we make an affirmation, but somehow it doesn't stick always with us. And a couple of things I've noticed in my own life with that is I've learned that it's not the what of the affirmation. You could say, I'm going to go on a diet, or I'm going to get healthy next year. I'm going to apply myself and study more. I'm going to get up in the morning and meditate. Whatever it might be, that's the easy part. I think what usually is missing is we don't supply the how. We say the what, but not the how. So unless we make an affirmation of what I'd like to be more kind, That's a general statement. But how are you going to do it? And I think if we look to what we would like to do in the coming year, the coming months, weeks even, how are you going to put that into practice? What are you going to reasonably do to make that real? Let's say, for example, you want to get up in the morning, and let's say, I'm so lazy in the morning. I want to get up and I want to meditate more and get up early and do that. And you just don't. So it's not enough to say, I'm firm, I'm going to do it. You have to say, well, how can I support that with some practical how to do it? Maybe I need to have somebody maybe call me in the morning. To get that mobile, right next to your head in bed, and you call you. Alarm clock. I need to buy an alarm clock. There was a fellow in America in the 19th century. He had this problem, and he invented a bed that when it was at a certain time in the morning, the bed would flip up, and it would physically flip him out of bed. And he was an engineering student, I suppose, but it would flip him out. But we have to follow up of how am I going to do it? And if you then you start to put into practical application to actually make your ideals and that's what an affirmation is. It's an ideal of what I want to do in life. Support it with something, and whether it's whatever it might be, and then you could make it practical. And at the same time, speaking of practicality, your ideal needs to be something that can be supported with common sense also, not so far in advance of your ability to do it, but take one step positive. If you're normally getting up at a certain time and you want to get up a little bit more early, well, don't try to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning. Just how about getting up just maybe half an hour earlier, an hour earlier? Then you can add a little extra meditation in there. And then slowly, you'll find that then you can take the bigger steps. There was, I've been reading a book about the life of Lahiri Mahashaya. And he talks about the need for Kriya Yoga and the practice of Kriya and the practice of pranayam. And as I began to read it, I began to realize what really is pranayam. What is pranayam? And it came to me that pranayam is learning to get up in the morning. Pranayam is learning to change your habits from bad to good. Pranayam is learning to control your energy and make a choice in life and direct your energy the way that you would like it to go. We often think of pranayam as in the sense of Kriya Yoga technique. We think of it in terms of breathing exercises, all of those sorts of things, but those are just an expression of it. Pranayam is really learning to control yourself, to control your life force. Control the life force, and you can change your life. So when we talk about learning to, so you could say, people say, oh, I'm practicing pranayam, but then, of course, they cannot change a habit. They cannot do something. They cannot follow through on something that they say they will do. They can't control themselves. The real pranayam is learning to say, I will do something. I'm going to get up in the morning, or I'm going to go on that diet, and then do it, because they can gain control. They have the ability to choose and to follow through with the direction of their life force. Because choosing to do any affirmation is only that. Can I control my life force? Can I affect that change that I want to see within myself? That's the real pranayama. It's not so much these exercises that we do on a deeper level. And if we think in terms of yoga, the eight Patanjali's yoga, we see the yam, niyam, asana, then we see pranayam. That's really what it is. It's simply being able to control ourselves. And this is the time of year, the end of one, letting it all go. All those failures, as Swami would say, what did he say? He said, never say you failed. Does anybody remember what he did say we should say? I haven't yet succeeded. And that's the way to do it. We're going to go into the next year. I haven't yet succeeded, but this year I'm going to succeed. I'm going to succeed. And you do what you can to make that a reality, but take it to the next step this year. What can I do to support that success? What can I do to make that change I've wanted to see in myself? What can I do to make it actually happen? One step forward. Just even one step in the right direction. That's important, because then you can always take another and another and another. So happy New Year to all of you, and I wish you the very best in the coming year of 2016. It should be a joyous year, and leave the past behind and embrace the future. Many blessings to all of you.